bounds, or you head on." Entirely too satisfied, he cracked his back and waved away the crates in the cart near the tracks. "And take that garbage with you." Ramon used to be one of the village kids who pushed small Deuce into the grass and stole their monthly allowance. Kellan hadn't liked Rubon when he was just another miner's musty child, and she didn't like him as a man who stank as badly at 20 as he had at 12. Kellan wasn't so little anymore. She was still chubby and still didn't take proper care of her hair, but the name house was 3 years behind her. Before anger got the better of her, Kellan pulled out her flyer and hurried toward the tracks. Since it first arrived at their doorstep less than a month ago, she'd folded and refolded the flyer in her pocket so many times that the faces of the world's finest makers had cracked and faded, coffee-stained halos topping their heads. Gasper Vandelez, master technician from across the Swallow and the Crescent Isles, who showed the world how to meld human nerves with ruined metal. Jala, Italish master alchemist, whose work in the West ended plagues before they began. And in the center, illustrated in near-perfect profile, stood master engineer Madame Mesny, one of Nanseau's 12 courtiers, inventor of the Automai, known as much for her peculiarity as she was for her brilliance. The slip of paper Kellan clutched between her pruned fingers might have been reduced to a dull page of torn creases and frayed corners, but to her, it was a symbol of hope. Madame Mesny was the headliner for Rhee's 84th annual Makers Exposition. She was a train right away, and all that stood between Kellan and the solution to Edgar's problems was a waste of a man who reeked of garlic and ghoul pepper. A breeze bit through her soggy jacket. The clouds had nearly swallowed the sun, casting everything in a thick gray. Even the reddish mountains jagging the horizon smeared a dull streak of russet through the rainfall. Because she'd let Edgar use her umbrella, rainwater had soaked through her socks and made every step sound like cutting through an overripe banana. She could handle it now, heavy rain, if she kept moving. Besides, no umbrella in the world could have protected her from the mud, which coated her shins and had started to harden. The bench on which Edgar sat had a roof that didn't leak. "I know I brought them now," he mumbled, searching through his luggage for the 5th time since they arrived. "I know I did." What little hair Edgar had left was gray from age and thin from too many years of comb pressing. He patted the jacket pockets of his second-best tweed suit, then his pants, then his socks, until he fumbled through the clothes in his suitcase again. Kellan paced beside him, one arm wound around her middle. She counted her steps, willed the wind and the rain to fall softer, blow warmer, so she could finally think. "It's all right if you didn't, she managed. "We'll get on that train some way." "You think so?" "I think so." "Might want to stop biting your nails then, if you're trying to be convincing. Can't be much left to nibble." The namehouse clock clanged, and the clouds overhead crashed in a thunderous boom. She missed the lightning, but not the way Edgar flinched in pain, bit his cheek to stifle his groan. "What's wrong?" she asked. Storms had never hurt him before. Edgar pulled off his hat and schooled his wince into a smile. "Just an ache. Keep waking up in the morning. You'll find out soon enough." The little sunlight peeking through the clouds caught the copper of his prosthesis. He'd lost his right hand to a miscarve a few years back. She'd just turned 14 when she made its replacement, so it wasn't her finest work. But design came second to function when an old man's hand had disintegrated to the wrist. The change in Edgar since his accident had been gradual, a creeping slope, as the ghost of his loss grew larger every day. If Kellan had thought Edgar was anything less than invincible back then, perhaps she would have noticed it sooner. It, too, started small, forgetting where he set his pen with it still in his fingers, until the problems grew. Leaving the stove on after he went to bed, remembering too late that he'd let one too many people exit the shop without paying.